This is the police with a search warrant, demanding entry.
Federal agents conducting a massive raid in Colorado Springs early around 3 a.m. Sunday morning.
3:07 a.m. Colorado Springs. The air was cold and still. Nothing moved on South Academy Boulevard. Then everything did. 300 federal officers closed in from every direction. Vans, tactical units, helicopters overhead, all converging on one building that had been hiding in plain sight for months. The nightclub looked ordinary from the outside. Neon lights, parking lot full of cars, music thumping through the walls. Inside was something else entirely. Within minutes, 115 people were detained. 17 of them wore military uniforms. 105 could not prove they were legally in this country. This was not a routine sweep. This was a federal operation years in the making. And what agents found when they walked through those doors would shake Colorado Springs to its foundation. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. The nightclub had a name. It had a location. It even had a reputation. But not the kind any legitimate business wants. Over the past 12 months alone, the location had generated more than 170 calls for service. Neighbors had filed complaints repeatedly. Fights, suspicious vehicles, traffic at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Strangers coming and going through side entrances no one could explain. Local police responded each time. And each time, by the time units arrived, the crowd had thinned. The music had dropped. The most suspicious figures had slipped out. But they were watching. Federal agencies had been building a case quietly for months. The DEA, ICE, Homeland Security investigations, multiple task forces coordinating intelligence across state lines. Every report logged, every call for service cataloged, every pattern mapped. And the pattern was clear. This club was not just a nightlife venue. It was a hub, a meeting point, a place where criminal networks, trafficking pipelines, and illegal operations intersected under the cover of loud music and dim lighting. The DEA had flagged the location in early intelligence reports as a probable consolidation point for individuals connected to larger distribution networks operating across the southern corridor. Agents tracking movement through the region kept seeing the same location appear again and again. Not as a coincidence, as a constant. Comment exposed below if this shocks you. By late autumn, federal investigators had enough to act. The order was signed. The operation was greenlit. Agencies were briefed. Entry points assigned. More than 10 separate federal and local agencies committed personnel to the operation. The coordination alone took weeks. Entry teams, perimeter control, processing units, transport vehicles, legal teams standing by. At 3:07 a.m. on a Sunday morning, the signal was given. Streets around the intersection of South Academy Boulevard and Airport Road were sealed in under 4 minutes. Marked units blocked every exit. Unmarked vehicles positioned at secondary routes. 2 helicopters took position overhead, thermal imaging active. Then the teams moved. Doors opened. Boots hit pavement. Agents moved in tight formation toward the entrance. It was not chaos. It was precision. The first teams breached the main entrance without resistance. Inside, the music was still playing. The crowd had no idea what was happening until federal agents in tactical gear were already through the doors, moving through the floor with purpose. Within the first 90 seconds, all exit points were controlled. No one left. No one escaped. If this story matters to you, type yes in the comments right now. The scene inside stunned even veteran agents. The club was packed. Bodies wall to wall. The air thick. The lights flashing. And positioned at nearly every entry point, standing with disciplined posture and scanning eyes, were individuals who looked different from the rest of the crowd. Bigger. More alert. More structured. 8 of them were later confirmed to be active duty military members working as security inside the club. Not attending. Not partying. Working. They were controlling entry. Monitoring the crowd. Deciding who went in and who stayed out. Witnesses inside described them as intimidating presences. Figures who made the whole operation feel protected. Untouchable. That illusion ended the moment federal agents walked through the door. All 8 were detained without resistance. Zip-tied alongside civilians. Loaded into transport vehicles without distinction. In total, 17 active duty service members were found inside the building that night. 17. For the DEA, that number immediately elevated the investigation beyond a simple raid on an illegal club. This was now a question of institutional corruption. The military members were from bases in and around Colorado Springs, a city that sits in the shadow of several major installations including Fort Carson and Peterson Space Force Base. Their presence inside a club tied to trafficking and organized crime raised questions that went far beyond one Sunday morning raid. Were they there voluntarily? Were they recruited? Were they being paid? And if they were being paid, by whom? Share this video so more people understand what happened that night. Federal investigators wasted no time. Within hours of the raid, the Department of Defense was notified. Military investigators were brought in. Parallel inquiries were launched. The DEA made its position clear immediately. No uniform provides immunity. If you stand guard over an operation running drugs and prostitution, you will be treated the same as every other suspect. Sources close to the investigation described camouflaged military bags found piled alongside civilian jackets and coats near the entrance. Equipment consistent with active service. Right there, inside a nightclub that federal agents had just classified as a criminal enterprise. The images were hard to process. Men sworn to defend the Constitution, positioned as the protective shield of an operation tied to trafficking networks. That is not a minor embarrassment. That is a national security concern. Hit like if you believe accountability must apply to everyone, regardless of rank or uniform. The detainee list told its own story. 115 people processed that night. 105 of them unable to establish legal immigration status. Placed immediately into IC custody for federal review. The countries of origin read like a map of the region's trafficking corridors. Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Chile. 9 countries represented inside one nightclub in Colorado Springs. This was not a local operation. It never was. Federal officials described the club as a convergence point, a physical location where multiple criminal pipelines intersected at ground level. The individuals inside were not random. They were connected. Through networks. Through handlers. Through operations that stretched far beyond the city limits. 2 individuals detained that night were wanted fugitives. Both had outstanding warrants for violent crimes. Both had been moving freely through the area, using the club as cover. The DEA later described the location as functioning less like a nightclub and more like a command node. A place where orders were passed. Where money changed hands. Where criminal infrastructure maintained itself in public view. Comment justice below if you believe this kind of operation has no place in an American city. The most chilling detail was not the numbers. It was the timeline. The club had been moving. Deliberately. Strategically. Every time law enforcement presence increased near one location, the operation would dissolve and reopen somewhere else in the city. It happened multiple times over an 18-month period. New address. New name. Same network. Same activity. Each reopening drew a larger crowd. Generated more calls. Created more cover. By the time federal agencies moved in, the operation had grown bold enough to employ active-duty military as its security force and draw individuals from 9 different countries into a single location without apparent concern about detection. That level of confidence does not develop overnight. It develops when an operation believes it is protected. When it believes it has enough influence, enough manpower, and enough structural depth to absorb pressure and keep running. That belief ended at 3:07 a.m. on a Sunday. If you want to see what investigators uncovered inside, subscribe now so you don't miss the next update. 300 officers to shut down one club. That number is not coincidence. It reflects the threat assessment federal agencies had assigned to the location. You do not deploy 10 agencies and 300 personnel to raid a bar. You deploy that kind of force when you believe the operation inside is large enough, dangerous enough, and connected enough to require it. They were right. The processing operation alone took hours. Buses lined up outside. Detainees loaded in waves. Each individual logged, identified, photographed, and flagged for further investigation. ICE began its review immediately. The DEA continued its evidence collection inside the building. Military investigators started contacting base commanders before sunrise. Colorado Springs woke up to a city that looked different. Streets that had been sealed reopened slowly. Local news cameras captured the tail end of transport operations. Residents who had complained for months about the club stood outside watching federal vans pull away. For some of them, it was relief. For others, it raised a harder question. How long had this been running? How many nights? How many crimes? How many people passed through that building before anyone with the authority to stop it finally did? Share this story before it disappears. Communities need to know what was operating in their neighborhoods. The federal case will take months to unfold fully. Each of the 115 detainees represents a thread, a connection, a potential link to something larger. Investigators are not treating this as a closed case. They are treating it as an entry point. Every name will be cross-referenced against cartel databases, trafficking records, and federal watch lists. Every financial transaction connected to the club will be traced. Every military member involved will face a parallel investigation through both civilian and military legal channels. The DEA has confirmed that intelligence gathered from the raid is already being used to map connected operations in other cities. Colorado Springs was not the end of this network. It was one node. The real question is how many others exist. How many other clubs? How many other cities? How many other locations where criminal infrastructure has embedded itself inside ordinary-looking buildings and ordinary-looking communities, protected by money, by fear, and in some cases, by the very people entrusted to defend this country? Comment your reaction below. What do you think needs to change? This raid exposed something that law enforcement officials have been warning about for years. Organized crime does not stay at the border. It does not limit itself to known criminal neighborhoods. It moves where opportunity exists, where oversight is thin, where communities are not looking. It recruits. It adapts. It uses legitimate institutions as cover whenever possible. The presence of 17 military members inside that nightclub is not just a scandal. It is a signal. A signal that criminal networks have grown sophisticated enough and resourceful enough to reach into trusted institutions and pull individuals out of them. Not by force, by money, by access, by the oldest recruitment tool in organized crime history. The investigation into the military angle is ongoing. No charges have been formally filed against the service members as of the latest federal briefing. But investigators say the process is moving quickly and that consequences will follow evidence wherever it leads. No rank will protect anyone. No uniform will close a case. Hit like if you believe that has to be true. For Colorado Springs, the raid represents a before and after moment. A city known for military families, outdoor spaces, and close-knit neighborhoods now carries a harder truth. The infrastructure of organized crime was running inside it. Loudly. Visibly. For long enough to generate 170 calls for service and still remain operational. That will not be forgotten quickly. Federal officials have promised continued operations targeting connected networks across the region. The intelligence gathered on Sunday morning is already flowing into new investigations. New warrants. New targets. This is not over. If anything, this is where it begins. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The next raid may reveal something even bigger. 300 officers. 115 detained. 17 military members. 105 in ICE custody. 9 countries. 2 fugitives. 170 calls for service. 1 club. Every number carries weight. Every number represents a failure of a system that allowed this to grow unchecked, and a success of a federal apparatus that finally moved with enough force to expose it. The deeper lesson is one that every American city should hear. Organized crime does not announce itself. It does not show up with visible warning signs or obvious identifiers. It shows up in places you recognize, dressed in ways you expect, operating behind facades that give you no reason to look closer. It runs until someone decides to look. And when federal agencies finally looked at that nightclub on South Academy Boulevard, they found not just criminal activity. They found a network. One that had stretched across 9 countries, penetrated military ranks, and operated with enough confidence to pack a club full of people connected to trafficking and organized crime while the city slept. That is the truth of what happened in Colorado Springs. And it is a truth that does not stay local. Comment truth below if this story needs to be heard. Share it. Send it to someone who needs to see it. Hit like so this reaches beyond this screen. The investigation continues. The cases are building. And somewhere out there, connected to this network, operations are still running. Federal agencies are watching. This is only the beginning.